Good morning and welcome back. I'm Matt Monroe.
And I'm Lindsay Thies. Today is Thursday, December 22nd. We start off with breaking news we brought you as the show started this morning.
A fire crash overnight leads to power outages west of Benson, and investigators are now asking a lot of questions.
It was quite a scene this morning, dying down a little bit now. At one point, police thought that someone was inside the car that was on fire. KMTV Action 3 News reporter Shantae Passmore is live near 85th and Maple with the latest. Hey, Shantae.
Matt, Lindsay, good morning. This fiery crash is becoming a bit of a puzzle for Alma police. We've seen a car fully engulfed in flames. Power was knocked out at one point, affecting thousands of customers, but we haven't seen or been able to identify a driver nor the passengers inside that vehicle. But here's what we know so far. This crash happened around 3 this morning near 83rd and Maple. You can see, again, this car fully engulfed in flames. Investigators say the driver traveled westbound on Maple going very fast. A witness actually had to call this crash in. At first, Alma Fire and Police assumed somebody was inside. The witness tells police they never saw anyone get out of the car. Turns out whoever was inside took off. Now, this crash is considered a hit and run. Police are checking hospitals and surrounding areas to see if they can find the person or people inside the car. As I mentioned already, power was out for a while, affecting roughly 1,300 customers, according to the OPPD outage map. Crews have been out here restoring power ever since. Last time I checked the outage map, it looks like roughly a little bit more than 100 customers are without power. And back out here live again, traffic is flowing just fine. At one point, it was blocked off, of course, as they were conducting this investigation. As for that investigation, when updates become available, we'll keep you updated on air and online at KMTV.com. Live near 85th and Maple, Shantae Passmore, KMTV, Action 3 News this morning.
Thanks, Shantae. Well, a startling report out by the Inspector General of Nebraska Child Welfare shows there are 36 reports of sexual assault of children in the state's care over the past 3 years.
Now the office is launching what it calls a systemic investigation. Over the next few months, the Office of the Inspector General will look at data and release a final report next fall. They say, quote, the key purpose of this investigation will be identifying areas for improvement and making recommendations regarding how Nebraska can better prevent and respond to child abuse of children in the state's care, end quote. Now, the news is troubling for State Senator Sarah Howard. She says one factor could be the large workload placed on caseworkers.
We really need to be more rigorous and thoughtful about who these children are being exposed to in those foster care placement settings and what type of screenings we're providing them with.
Howard also says without more mental health care services in the state, the child welfare system is going to continue to struggle. She favors a special legislative committee to review the problem. Nebraska is a mandatory call state, meaning if you see child abuse, you're required to report it.
Weather on the 3s brought to you by Elite Exteriors, roofing, siding, and windows.
All right, just after 6 o'clock, 6:03 to be precise there, time for weather on the 3s. And once again, temperatures trending down a little bit early on this Thursday morning behind the front that moved across the area yesterday. And after we saw highs in the low 50s, we're back to 20 this morning in Bennington. Out at the Meadows, 22 degrees. Elmwood Park, a little warmer at 24. And as we go from West End at 23 down to the south toward Bellevue right now, Sunrise, you've slipped a degree in the last hour to 22 degrees. We're going to start off with some sunshine, but that next weather system I showed you a few minutes ago producing a lot of rain. LA, Vegas, Phoenix, all getting wet this morning. High mountain snow for parts of Arizona, New Mexico, and southern Colorado. Good news for the skiers there. That's already shooting some clouds way out into central parts of Nebraska. We'll see a little bit of this increase today and then possibly a wintry mix coming up late tonight into tomorrow. Doesn't look like we're going to see much in the way of any kind of snow or ice accumulation, but if we get the mix like we saw last Friday, it doesn't take much to slicken things up. Temperatures are going to be real close to the freezing mark early tomorrow morning, so that's something we're really going to get into coming up here in a few minutes. But as for right now this morning, again, our forecast does call for sunshine to give way to a few clouds. Notice temperatures as we go hour by hour, slowly rising into the 30s late this morning, and we should hit highs back in the mid-40s this afternoon, so not quite as warm as yesterday, but still looking pretty good. And Lindsay, you can see some of those clouds coming in that will ultimately lead to maybe that light mix, which I'll touch on much more, and have a look at an odd Christmas Day forecast in about 10 minutes here.
Very very excited to hear about that, especially because some folks are traveling. Thanks, Ryan. The norovirus is making the rounds again in Omaha. It's typical this time of year, but county health officials are warning about it. The director of the Sienna Francis House says that the shelter has had dozens of confirmed cases over the last few weeks. Both guests and employees have been sick with the virus.
We got hit approximately 2 weeks ago really hard, and it almost overwhelmed us. People were getting sick rapidly, and so I would suggest at one time we had like 80 people sick.
Director Mike Sackler says with recent freezing temperatures, overcrowding, too, the shelters are just more susceptible to getting the bug. We also chatted with the Open Door Mission. They said they don't have any reported cases, but they are taking precautions to make sure there isn't an outbreak at that location. And this isn't the first time the norovirus has made its way through the metro.
Yeah, in fact, it's one of many cases over the past decade. Back in November of 2012, an outbreak at Holy Cross Catholic School in Omaha forced administrators to cancel classes just before Thanksgiving. Staff members went in during the holiday break to disinfect classrooms. In April of 2012, Mary R. Queen Catholic School in West Omaha closed for 2 days, hoping to avoid reinfection. At that time, more than 175 kids reported flu-like symptoms. And even hospitals are not immune. In March of 2008, CHI Emmanuel Medical Center closed its behavioral health unit after dozens of patients and staff caught the norovirus.
Methodist wants to move its headquarters, changing the face of Omaha's busiest street. Our partners at the Omaha World Herald report Methodist Health System plans to move its corporate offices from 86th and Dodge to a new facility at 168th and Pacific. Methodist Hospital will keep operating at 83rd and Dodge, but all 800 corporate employees would move west when the new building's complete. If the city approves the plan, that's expected in late 2018.
And some prime real estate along the riverfront in Omaha is now up for lease, all thanks to Conagra moving its corporate headquarters. For years, the Fortune 500 company filled those two buildings, but now they're vacant after Conagra transferred hundreds of corporate employees to Chicago. Commercial realtors expect their old offices to eventually fill up.
You have a view of the river, the lake, the fountain, and close proximity, 7 minutes, 5 minutes to the airport.
So far, we've heard that most of the interest is coming from larger companies.
Your life is important. That's the message delivered at a remembrance of the dozens of people who died seeking shelter this year. Organizers lit 86 candles at the Sienna Francis House in Omaha, one for each person who passed away in 2016. Shelter guests, family members, and city officials went to last night's service, honoring those who are often forgotten.
One of the guys came to me and he said, you know, Travis was my best friend, and this is the only service that's being held in his memory.
Operators of the shelter call it an extension of their mission to treat people with respect and unconditional love.
In your news from around the world this morning, an intense manhunt continues across Europe for the suspect allegedly connected with the deadly truck attack on a Christmas market in Berlin, Germany. Authorities have identified him as 24-year-old Anis Amri. He's a Tunisian national with ties to Islamic extremists. Officials say Amri may be violent and armed. They're offering a six-figure reward for information leading to his capture. And back here stateside in your news from around the nation, North Carolina's controversial bathroom law remains in place, leaving transgender people banned from using the restroom of their choice. Negotiations to repeal the bill, known as HB 2, fell apart yesterday when a special session adjourned after hours of partisan bickering. Democratic Governor-elect Roy Cooper is blaming Republicans for the inaction.
A local charity is hoping for a big fundraising push over the last few days. The Salvation Army is about 75% to its $2.5 million goal. It's part of their Tree of Lights campaign. Now, last weekend, cold weather put a big chill on the contributions. Now, Salvation Army's Red Kettle campaign runs all the way up until Christmas Eve. So still got a little bit of time to get those donations in there. They're really counting on some of those.
They certainly are. A lot of folks counting on it too.
Yeah.
3/4 of the way there, so just a quarter to go. 3 more days for the big push
push
to fill the big red kettle.
And you talk about where some of this money goes. The past couple of days, some of our reporters have been out at the shopping events that they do for Omaha families, where they have tons and tons of toys that these parents, you know, can go shopping for
Absolutely.
that they wouldn't have been able to do without those contributions.
Yeah,
Great
money
cause
stays
for
here
sure.
locally for people in need, not only around Christmas,
Yeah.
but all year long too.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, weather-wise, we're doing pretty well here for the last few days of December. Certainly better than last week.
Yeah, for sure. Temperature is way easier to deal with, so you can get out and donate and finish up your Christmas shopping. Travel looks okay. One little thing we got to watch tomorrow morning, maybe a very light wintry mix that could slow things down for a few hours early Friday. We'll talk about that. And just a bizarre forecast for Christmas. I don't remember anything like this, at least in the forecast. Possible record highs. No snow this year, maybe thunderstorms
Wow.
Sunday afternoon. So we'll get into all that coming up in a few minutes.
Okay, weather in the threes. We'll see you then. Also on the way, as the holiday shopping season continues, there are lots of consumers that are using the plastic in their wallets. Later in the show, we'll tell you about the states with the highest and the lowest credit card debt and where Nebraska ranks. Time is 6:10, 21 degrees. Come on back. You're watching KMTV Action 3 News.